everyone, Kitty Cat Sims here, and welcome back to a podcast. Today we are with Dr. Wolf, also known as the Pagan Nomad.
Hey up! I'm back. I'm alive. If any of my listeners actually listen to here as well, I am not dead. I am indeed still living.
Yeah, I went on your page and it said February. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, no, I had a lot of stuff to deal with.
Yeah.
Different work, job, house, and it was mad. So, but I'm back now. I'm back in the saddle, ready for some new podcasts. I've got some new ideas, some new collaborations in mind, and we shall see what it comes.
And for people that don't know, we actually know each other in real life.
Yes, which is going to be a big premise of today's podcast, as we shall see. I think we actually met each other in school over here in France, and if I'm correct, the podcast today is about living in France, and I think that would be a good place to start, don't you?
Yes, that would be a good place because I think let's start with the French schools, and then we'll just whatever comes into mind.
Yeah, move along with what we've gone through. I think first of all, the thing we should probably talk about French school-wise is it is weird, especially being English.
Yes, if you're English in a French school, you're treated like aliens.
Either aliens or royalty. It's one of the two.
Yes. You get the half bunch that treat you like royalty, that want you for everything and help them with their homework, and then there's the ones that treat you like you're an alien and that you should not be there.
Let's be serious. We live in the middle of the France, right?
In the middle of rural France, where there are farmers for miles.
It's very exotic to be not French here. Yeah. But yeah, I can remember obviously starting school myself, and I didn't speak a word of French when I joined up, so it was interesting working my way through. And I think the first words I understood and learned to say was "shut up, leave me alone." But yeah, and I can remember actually meeting Caity, and I think the first thing I heard was and this is obviously typical of French schools, was the rumours.
Yes, rumours like wildfire. Everyone knows them by the end of the day.
Yeah, it wasn't even the fact that we spoke to each other or heard each other speaking English.
Before you even met each other because of the rumours. It
was literally, there's an English girl in school, and I can remember sat in free period once, and the two classes were in the same free period, and they were doing the roll call, and they were going blah, 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 and they went around Caity, and me in my typical charming, delicate fashion just turned around and went, "Aren't you English?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." And turned back around.
Me, Miss Shy, just suddenly being bombarded by this English person speaking full English to me in a French school. I was just like, what?
But to be fair, I think again it was the weird. The weirder bit was the French's reaction, and this is like I said, growing up in France, is the French were surprised to hear English. Yes.
So what you're saying is you were suddenly put into French schools, whereas me, I grew up with it my whole life. So I had done the whole full French. So it was either people that knew me from day one knew that I was English, or to new people it came to a surprise to them that I was English. So I got a bit of both.
Yeah, I think one thing to mention about French school is it's completely different from English school or whatnot because of the teacher-student interactions. If you go into a rural French school now, we can only speak about our personal experiences, but rural French school, Jesus Christ, the teachers, 99% of them, from my experience anyway, have such a chip on their shoulder. It is really old-fashioned. The teacher is always right. Now, I don't know what your idea, what your experiences were like. Give us an insight.
Well, with certain teachers, they were either your friend or your teacher. Yeah. So either you'd get one particular thing that I saw, that my ex-boyfriend got the number of one of the teachers and they started texting.
I mean, I have that. I have my teachers' numbers from.
Too friendly, or they hated your guts.
Yeah, basically. I mean, to be fair, I have my teachers' numbers from a couple of my teachers' numbers from my agricultural college when I was doing my studies, but that is for work. That's work related. But then I'd hazard to say, you growing up in France and doing the whole French, you might have had a different reaction to it. Me, I came over to France, and I mean,
you knew what English schools were.
Briefly, but.
Yeah, briefly, but for me, it was like, this is what I've grown up with. I don't know any different.
But for me, obviously, I came over and got in, and I mean, everybody, we all know, all my listeners know how boisterous I am. And basically, it was when I was sat in class and the teachers started getting a little bit too uppity about themselves and a little bit too much, I am king, I reacted a bit more explosively. Basically, I didn't go in for the whole, just because you're a teacher, you're always right, you're in charge. I think that was what was one of the things that shocked me the most, is that French students, whilst unruly, they have a very different outlook on actual behaviour in class towards the teacher. They'll mess about, but they offer the teacher much more non-committed respect from basically being told you should do it than actually offering them any respect based on what has been earned. You think you could say? Could you agree with that?
My experiences from my high school years was that basically the teachers had no respect from the students, and I think this is more of a country sort of high school. That's why it was that.
You see, I couldn't get on with that. I couldn't get on with the teacher not respecting me, but expecting utter respect back, and obviously we all know what happened. But no, nothing.
There's always that one nice teacher that you respect, but then all the others, they don't really care about you.
Yeah, true. That as well. There's one teacher that's completely just chill and has no stress at all, and then there's that one that you when you walk into the class, you're asking yourself, should I sit down or should I goose step to the back of the classroom and stand to attention?
Yeah. Basically, in my high school years, I had the class from hell, which actually made me cool. But I had this one teacher, basically I was her godsend, because my class was so unruly that I had to spend 5 minutes with my favourite teacher just to calm her down.
Yeah, I had an experience like that when I was in school. For those of you that might know, I am quite proficient in physics. Shock horror to a lot of my friends. But no, I had a teacher. He had a doctorate, he had his master's degree, he'd done 10 additional years of study after his physics degree, and he'd worked in astrophysics, synthetic diamonds, everything. And I am not ashamed to admit, it was maybe the one time that I was actually a teacher's pet, because I used to sit in the classroom and do quantum physics and work out energy conversions with him. But some of the times I would sit after the class with him, and it would just be like, why can't the class take a leaf out of your book? And I'm like, because I'm mad. You don't want them to.
I had exactly that. Basically, all the teachers in my school were going, why can't your class be like you? Because I am quite shy person, so I've always been sit down and just do the work. Whereas I've always been in a class where they throw stuff at the teachers, they don't respect them, they get up and walk out, and it's a complete nightmare.
I mean, I'm not shy at all, but I'm very curious. So obviously, I ask a lot of questions, which certain teachers don't like, certain teachers do. But moving on from school, another key feature of living in France is actually, you kind of gave us the gateway, is growing up in France, which you said earlier. Now, I am currently in my 8th going on 9th year living in France. You are in your...
15th.
She's got me beat. Sorry, we had a bit of a technical issue there. It happens when it's a podcast, you can't really...
We're not in the same room. This is over phones.
Yeah, this is the wonder of Anchor, everybody. That's not paid promotion, by the way. Don't sue me.
No. So, what were you saying?
I was saying, obviously, it's you were speaking about you've been here for 15 years. I've been here for about 8, going on 9. But the difference is I grew up in where I used to live when I still lived with my parents. When after we moved over, the village that we were in has 12 people in it on average, about, and my family was when I was living here was 7 of them. So, and I think you had it even worse, didn't you? Where you live?
Basically, where I live, I've only got one neighbour who's right next to me, and he's a farmer, and he only lives on his own. And then just down the road, I've got 5 holiday homes, which basically there's no one ever there, and there's nothing around me. So, like, I mean, the village is a 15-minute walk, but when you're someone that doesn't want to walk 15 minutes just to go and hang out somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, people often say, oh yeah, France has got beautiful countrysides and blah blah blah. Yes, it does, but for somebody growing up here,
it's boring.
It gets extremely boring. I mean, when I was still living in my parents' house, because we had a holiday home here when I was living in Germany, and then we moved into it, I had to walk 5 kilometers round trip if I wanted to get a pint at the bar. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't seem like a lot, but
because there's nothing else to do.
Exactly. I mean, how far do you reckon you live from my parents' house?
From your house, it's as you say, it's a 40-minute walk. Around about, but then 10 minutes drive.
Yeah.
But if you just want to hang out with someone, you don't want to use the fuel for just 10 minutes.
But at the same time, you don't necessarily want to spend an entire day with that person if it's just a case of, oh, I'm bored, I'll hang around with a friend for an hour or 2. Is it really worth?
Yeah, you need to, if you're going to do the 10-minute drive, you need to make it worth it, but sometimes...
Yeah, that's just speaking about the 10-minute drive. I'm talking about the 40-minute walk.
Yeah, that is just... Because I don't know how to drive, so... For me, it's either my mum drops me off, you come over, or I have to walk 40 minutes.
Exactly. It's like...
I'm not sporty, and if I do at least 10 minutes, I'm just going to have to stop and just no, I'm not walking any further.
Yeah, I don't mind doing the walk. It's the fact that it's something like that, you got to take into account, you're basically doing an hour and a half around, give or take, walk to go somewhere. Now, round trip. Now, if you're going to do an hour and a half's walk, do you really want to go right, I'm going to walk for 40 minutes, spend an hour at this person's house, and walk home 40 minutes? It doesn't make sense. It's something like that is kind of, you make a whole day out of it. And
unless you've got a dog, which it makes it more fun, but I don't until after tomorrow.
And my dog's idiots, so but so it is a case of when you live out here in the middle of the countryside in France, it is one of the things that you have to get used to is you either spend a lot of your time to yourself or a lot of the time outside in the countryside, which is nice, but again, there's only so many times you can walk through the same fields and through the same forests and have that sense of awe. At one point you just turn around and go, I've seen all of this before, it's boring. And
then there are the towns which aren't that very special.
Yeah, I think they got the name town because they have a church in the middle of it, and that's about as far as they can go.
It's an upgrade from living in the middle of nowhere. At least you can go to a pub or you can go to a park or something.
But then
it's not guaranteed that your friends live in that town as well.
First of all, yes, it's like, oh, cool, we can go to the town. You got to bear in mind, you might have a 20-minute drive to that or a 20-minute walk to that town. Your mate on the other side has maybe a 30-minute walk or a 20-minute walk to the same town. And so you're both having to walk to there. It's the same problem. You're not going to spend an hour's walking in your day to spend half an hour to an hour. The English mentality of I'm just going to go down the road and sit to my mates, or I'm going to go hang around on a street corner, does not exist in the countryside out here. Maybe in the cities, we don't know. But out here,
this is countryside. We're talking about the middle of nowhere where you have to drive 20 minutes to go see anything.
Exactly, in any direction. So you got to think, especially growing up, your parents have got work or with school.
us, yes, we've got school, but then what?
Exactly.
Yeah, we can hang out with a mate, but we need to organise with our parents to get to meet up. We need to find a time, and some of my friends, they live like half an hour away.
Exactly. It's a case of
we can't meet up after school. We can't, like, the only times we can see each other is on weekends. And around here, a lot of them are religious, so on Sundays it's out of the question.
Yeah.
to Saturdays, which sometimes your parents want to do something on Saturdays.
It's not even that. Sometimes you're knackered from Friday. You've got to remember that the French school system expects you to come back after doing a full 8 hours school and then do 2 hours of homework.
Yeah. And teachers are always like, oh, you need to do 2 hours of homework in the evenings. It's like, so when do you expect me to eat and sleep?
I mean, I never did homework, so I didn't have that.
About 10 minutes of it.
But the problem is, it's like you said, your parents might want to do something on the Saturdays, Sundays. It's often church and religious around here, or there's the hunts with the societies around here.
God, don't get me started on the hunt.
We'll talk about that in a minute, but it's the case of, like you were saying, is you have to organise it, but when exactly you're supposed to organise it? Because if you come home on the Friday and you're just like, you know what, sod it for today, I'll do my homework over the weekend, well, that's Saturday out of the question, because Saturday you've got your work to do, and you've also got, if your mum wants to do anything or whatever. Sunday everybody's at church or whatnot, so when exactly you're supposed to meet up? After school. That only works if it's a sleepover. Now, I'm not being funny, but over here sleepovers don't exist really.
No, unless you're like 5 years old.
Exactly.
Or when you're a teenager, nothing.
Yeah.
And also, after school, as I was saying, most friends live half an hour away because the schools, basically, they're small, but they group up a large area. So you could either be really lucky and meet someone 10 minutes away, or meet someone that's half an hour away.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's so stretched apart that you have to get used to this. A lot of the times, if you do have friends or friendships, it's a very low maintenance friendship, you could say. There's none of the typical, let's go to the kebab, let's go and get kebab on the weekends, let's go down to the pub, or we'll go and hang out at the sports hub. It's a case of you see your friends at school.
That's it.
And and then on the rare occasion that you have one that, first of all, you feel comfortable enough to invite to your house, because you got to remember, it's not normal over here to invite somebody around unless they live literally in the same village as you, but then you know each other anyway through communal barbecues and stuff, which is a big thing out in the countryside. But
I've never been invited to one.
Because you have nobody that lives in your village to do one.
Yeah, they're all like old people, all died off on one.
Yeah, but it's a case of, out here, your house really is very, very separate from your school life when you're young. And so because of that mentality of your friends are for school, a lot of the times you feel uncomfortable even inviting somebody around anymore, because it's a case of, but what are we going to talk about?
Yeah, and don't get me started on if they have a social media.
Oh, God.
I don't know what that is out here. You meet someone and it's like, okay, we might want to hang out over the weekend. Do you have a phone? Nope. Do you have Facebook? Nope. Instagram? Nope. Anything? No.
Yeah, or to throw it into the complete opposite spectrum, they come up and they look like they're sponsored by the internet. They've got Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, MySpace. I don't even know if MySpace even exists anymore, but they have it. And they just post the most random. Am I allowed to swear?
Go ahead.
They post the most random shit on Facebook. I'm sorry. But when you see some of the stuff that goes up on Facebook and whatnot, you look at it.
Especially the girls that think they're like top models.
Yeah, that is a big thing out here. I mean, you city folk and whatnot, or a lot of things. They have this mentality of country girls being these like fit girls or whatever because of hard labor. That's not necessarily the case. It's exactly.
No, like it's very rare to see one of those.
Trust me, just because we live in the countryside doesn't mean that the gene gods flew across and went, I'm going to zap you, and you, and make you supermodels. No, it's exactly the same as in a big town. And so, but the difference is, in a big town, everybody's got designer clothes, everything. Out here, you have a designer top or whatever, and it's like you're the Kardashian family.
Yeah, you're the most popular girl in the school.
But they work on that status as well. They really dig into it, and it is almost. I would say it's worse than in the big cities because you're in Paris or something. Everybody dresses in designer clothes. It's normal.
They're all small groups. So yeah. It's more they have to work harder to get everybody to notice them, even though. It's sort of hard to explain because in the big cities there's loads of people and you can get noticed by a small group. Over here, you try and get noticed by everybody. Even though it's still a small amount of people, you still try and get known.
Yeah, now, I think you can explain that, though, by the fact that if you got to remember, if you're in a big city, if you're in a huge school up in Paris or Orleans and stuff like that, your small group of people that you're impressing is probably 30, 40 people. Out here, that's the entire school.
Mm.
If you want, what is defined as a few people is you, your best mate, his girlfriend, and her younger brother, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make the same effect to impress a small group of people because it's 2 to 3 people max. But like I was saying, you go into the Paris stuff like that. Everybody's dressed in designer clothes and this and that because it's just normal. You don't stand out when you do that.
And they've got money and that they can spend.
Exactly. I wear work clothes. I am not one for designer clothes. I wear clothes.
I wear pajamas 24/7.
Yeah, that's because you never leave the house, you little vampire.
Yeah.
Doesn't even deny it.
Saying there's nowhere to go.
But the thing is you. I mean, I wear clothes that are suited to what I do. I'm an amateur blacksmith. With my job. Hard wearing work clothes. I go up into a town or like Paris or something that I've gone up to quite often in the last few years, and people look at me like I'm a novelty because they're not used to it. Over here, it's the complete opposite because it isn't something. Everybody tries to buy designer clothes, but it sticks out like a sore thumb. But they really, really, really think that because they have those clothes, they're some sort of superstar, and it is all that you see on the social media, and it is atrocious. I'm not being funny, but when I go on my Facebook, the last thing I want to see is 37 pictures of underage girls trying to dress like they're 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just so they can become popular in school.
Exactly, it's not what I mean, and I mean not to be nasty or anything, but some of them it kind of ends there as well. That's their whole personality.
Yeah.
It's a shame because I've known a lot. I know a lot of people for school, and a lot of them that they were nice and they were cool. And it's almost as if because of that need to impress the 20, 30 people that are in the school, because the pool of people you can impress is so small, the competition is so fierce that they sacrifice a lot of their personality to be that top dog and be that they're the coolest person in the school because there's not enough people for them to make their own little group to impress or whatever. It really is cutthroat.
Yeah.
Which, we don't get on. You don't get along with. It's just not really what English people do, I dare say, or what we did anyway. We were quite happy to stick to our little groups and just, you know, which, again, the French...
Us in a French school, that's what we did. We had a group and we stuck to it.
I mean, it was funny because at the beginning you were like kind of wishy-washy about because, you were shy.
Yeah, and I basically just sat on a bench watching the basketball players.
Me being me, I wasn't the popular kid by any chance. I was just a kid that really did not care, and so me being
most known in the school.
Pardon?
You were the most known in the school.
Yeah, but that was for the wrong reasons. That was because I was about and stuff. No, I think I was the most known in school for the simple reason is that they weren't used to me or my sort of just bluntness. I said what I thought. I did what I thought. I stuck up for what I thought was right. If I got into trouble, I'd be the first to admit it, because it's a case of, yeah, I did it, but, you know, I'm not going to let somebody else. And they weren't used to that. And I got a reputation for just being, if you have a problem with me, I'm going to knock you out, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Just say it to my face or don't say it at all. But obviously, maybe
that attitude saved my butt.
Yeah, that's just going to come to see when obviously after we'd met and we'd talked a bit. You basically ended up gravitating around me and my group, not by any choice of yourself, literally because I actually walked over to you and did everything except physically grab you by the sleeve and drag you over off your bed.
And also, I didn't really have anybody else to hang out with.
Oh, charming. That makes me feel so loved.
Well, we're good friends now and everything, but back then I didn't really have many friends and everything, and like it was nice to have someone just kind of like want to actually talk to me.
Of course. And as well, it was a case of if anybody used to mess with you, it would be like you'd have a 6'2" grizzly Viking motherfucker behind you, like, you need to back the fuck off.
Yeah, actually, that's what you did. You went up to the boyfriend, didn't you, of one of the girls?
Oh yeah, I can remember that. I went up. So for the listeners, a bit of context. When we were in school together, one of the popular girls in the high clique, took offence at Caity. Now,
Three of them actually.
Not three of them, but this one was like she was in charge, sort of thing.
Yeah, the girls of the school.
And so, for whatever reason, they decided that they were going to try and make Caity's life a misery.
Which they did.
Me being me, when she finally told me.
I don't think I actually told you. I think you actually witnessed it.
Oh yeah, it was either you told me or actually saw it in action. But as soon as I found out, well, you can fill in the rest.
Yeah, well, you sort of, I think, went up to one of the boyfriends, grabbed him by the scruff, and told them that if the girlfriends continue, that basically you were getting a good beating.
Yeah, I basically threatened about 4 dudes at the same time and said, if it keeps going, you're gonna get involved with me, and it speaks volumes for the reputation I had. I think it ended there.
It did. I did stop getting bullied, but it didn't stop the sort of looks that I then got.
Yeah.
Don't mess with her, otherwise you're gonna have to mess with him.
It's always been funny, our friendship. I mean, when she was going to high school, funny fact.
Oh my god, yes.
She went to the school she was going to is in the village where I now have my own place, and so I was literally 5 minutes walk down the road from where her school was.
Well, 5 minutes walk for you, 10 minutes walk for me.
Yeah, you've got a little.
I'm not little.
You're a very small giant. I'm a very tall midget.
All right.
But yeah, so obviously it was a case of I was literally 5 minutes down the road, and oh my god, on a few occasions I showed up there during her break and stuff to have a chat.
I've got a free break. Care to walk up?
Yeah, that was all. It was. I've got 2 hours free. Do you want to come and have a cup of tea and sit on the settee? That was.
Yeah. Because basically, I was in a class from hell, and whenever we got free break, all my other friends, you could say that they're friends, were in different classes and had class. So I was basically like, I've got no one to hang out with. So yeah, have a cup of tea.
Which is something that's very, very English, you know. Don't
get us started on the French and tea.
Oh my god, they don't drink it with milk.
That's another topic for another day.
I think if we get into that, this podcast is never going to end.
We get 30 minutes. I can imagine it going for another 30.
But no, I mean, when you... It's just being in the French countryside is something that is very different because it is, first of all, so vast, so empty. Second of all, everybody's so far away from each other, so it takes a supreme dedication and force of will to even organize something and actually have plans come to fruition, because you've got to remember, because it's so far away, everything is generally planned out in advance. You have an itinerary. If something comes up, that could be your only free day for another 2 weeks.
And then there are the people that basically, I'm a big planner. Like, I do everything almost to the T. Then there are the people that sort of, they give you very vague description of meeting ups. And I hate those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you like get there and it's like, where are you? Oh, sorry, yeah, I'm busy, and it's like, couldn't you have told me?
Yeah, can you?
That's the French are vague.
Yeah, but I think that I don't know if that's just because we're English and we have a different mindset. We notice it, but for them, it is completely acceptable for tell somebody to meet up, and then when they show up, be like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I couldn't come. I had something on." And you sat there going, "I just spent 20 minutes driving around."
Yeah, exactly. My mum would not tolerate that. If that happened, and I think it did happen on one occasion. We had it all planned. Someone's going to arrive, and then like basically half an hour later, they still haven't arrived. So I texted them, going, "Where are you?" And they went, "Oh, sorry, yeah, I've got this thing." And it's like, already I'm mad at you, but you should look at how mad my mum is at you because it's taken time out of her day as well.
Because it is a big thing. It comes back to that mentality of if you're going to have somebody come over, it is something for the whole day. You have to be
planned to the T.
So when somebody just turns around and goes, "Oh, actually, by the way, I'm not coming anymore," you're kind of left looking around like, well, what exactly do I do now?
Yeah, it's like, thanks.
Yeah, on the fly, let's just go and do something else doesn't really exist in France. It's a case of you plan for it or you don't.
And then there's the days where you cancel on them.
Oh, God.
God. I have lost 2 best friends because I cancelled on them and they took it badly. And I was just like, why? Like, I think I've told you about these 2 girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cancelled them. Their reaction to me cancelling, because I felt shit, basically, as I'm quite sickly most of the time. It's like, it's often for me to cancel on someone because I'm ill. And I cancelled on them, and their reaction was just awful. So basically, our first episode was at schools and the kids in them.
Schools, kids in them, and friends, I would say.
Yes, I'm going to name, that will be the title. And the next episode will be tea, and whatever other subject that comes up.
Because we ramble a lot.
Yes, we do. We're sorry for that, but hey. I'm not sorry.
Yeah, you know what you signed up for when you came to listen.
Yeah. I mean, if you know anything about my YouTube channel, you definitely know what you signed up for. Someone that rambles on with just saying nonsense all the time. So, if you
know anything about my podcast, then you will pretty much know the same.
Yeah. So, we're going to leave this here, guys. Thank you so much for listening. And please go check out the Pagan Nomad and give him some love and support.
Cheers.
Check out my YouTube channel, like self-promo, don't care.
Flash that advertisement. Think we're going to sign off here.
Katie Caxton's YouTube channel.
And right.
Okay, bye guys.